What often triggers the brain problem? Well, playing bad, other people's strong emotions, uncomfortable emotions and overwhelmed, getting chirped, not turning it around, criticism, being frustrated. This is this is an exercise I did with one of my athletes who plays in the Big Ten. By the way, any of the stories you hear from me, if you think you know who they are, you don't. I've changed the details enough so that you won't know who they are, okay? So, this is what he thinks once he gets triggered. Got to play better. I'm so mad. Got to figure it out. Keep trying. I suck. Give up the dream. Everyone knows it's over. I'm overrated. Everyone's going to see me as a failure. God, I'm depressed. Feeling this way confirms I'm a failure. People won't respect me unless I'm good. They won't like me if I'm not good. No one will like me, and I'll be this way forever. This is what happens, and I see this over and over again. I see this process play out over and over again. This is a part of getting to know your inner athlete. You got to embrace that this is part of the problem, and you got to figure out a way to change it. Now, in order to change their performance, and in order to change your performance, you have to know something about yourself. Which means for you as coaches, you have to know something about them if you're going to change their performance. What are the signs that the door is shut? You get a fight, flight, freeze response. So they might play like a one-person team. They might rage out, break a stick over the net, break a stick against the boards. They might beat themselves up like our young athlete from the Big Ten did. They might play when they want to play. They do the Randy Moss. They're inconsistent. They show up, and then they don't. You get frustrated with them. They might get in a prolonged slump. They might grip the sticks tighter. They might play scared and tentative, not to lose. And then they start to overthink. So what could be in their container? Well, it could be injuries or concussions, witnessing them or their own. It could be bad experiences with teachers or coaches. I worked with a baseball player. Got him in 9th grade, wanted to play college baseball. Came to me and said, Hans, I want to play college baseball. I said, what does your coach say you got to get better at? He says, oh, I don't know. I said, go talk to your coach. For a month, he went to the coach's door and would get to the door and turn back around. I'm like, what's the deal? Do you want this? Yeah, I want this. So what it turned out was, when he was in 5th grade, got in trouble in school, got kicked out of class one day. Happened to be the same day that there were conferences. Got to the conference. There was an army of administrators there. Teacher was in tears, and she said, I'm quitting teaching at the end of the year because of you. See why that kid would be afraid to go talk to someone in authority? You see the kind of impact you can have on a kid as an adult? You gotta not let the brain problem get to you when you're frustrated. It might be a bad experience with a teammate. It might be repeated messages that they've gotten about themselves, either how good or bad they are. It might be you're a natural, you're a bust, you're a failure, you're in the mediocre middle. It might be poor performances, embarrassments, or it might be stressful family life events. I want to tell you a little story about something that happened to me and how it created a brain problem for me. So, Jack Jablonski gets hurt. I'm already working with the Wayzata team. I get a call from the head coach. He says, I need you to be ready on Tuesday to help these kids. This is a mess. I don't know what to do. Okay, get a call a couple days later, and I say to that coach, you know, it's more than likely I'm going to hear from the other team. I'm going to hear from Benilde. He says, yeah, that's fine. So, as I predicted, less than 24 hours later, I get a phone call from an assistant from Benilde. We need your help. I said, look, the other team has asked me to help them. Are you all right with that? They said, yep, absolutely. Okay. So, long story short, I had over 30 people between the time Jack got hurt until July come to see me to deal with what had happened. It was on July 21st that summer that I turned 40. And my wife and I rode to work together, and I said the day before, you know what? I think I'm going to die tomorrow. And she said, what? Why? There's nothing wrong with you. I said, yeah, I know. So I did what I was trained to do. I went to a mentor and a former supervisor, and I said, this is what I'm thinking. It doesn't make any sense. And Mary said, Hans, what did you think? That that wasn't going to affect you? You got PTSD. Well, wait a second. I'm supposed to be tough. This isn't supposed to affect me. I know that this is my job, right? I'm not supposed to be human. She said, what? Oh, so you thought you should be a superhero? And I said, well, I guess. And she said, well, you know what? I've known you a long time. I know you're not a superhero. And more importantly, if this didn't affect you, I'd think you're a psychopath. So if you don't think the brain problem affects you or your athletes, you're one or the other. So I did what I was supposed to do. I went and saw somebody, and I'll explain a little bit later about how you go ahead and solve that problem when you can't solve it on your own. But this happens. I've learned over time that none of us can get through life without help from someone else. It's just impossible. We need people. What does our brain provide? Survival, safety, and significance. That's why we need people, is the significance part. Okay, so the other thing that you need to know is when you're working with really good athletes, here's a bell curve, all right? You got the low performers who are alone and have to figure out the difference between fear and danger. You got the high performers who are alone and have to figure out the difference between fear and danger. And then you got the mediocre middle. The good news for the mediocre middle is you're safe. But we're biologically wired when we're alone and we have to figure out the difference between fear and danger for our door to shut. And that's biologically wired into us because if 400 years ago, if you want to go hunt buffalo, you want to go with the mediocre middle. It's safer, it's easier. You're less likely to get killed if there's more of you. Okay?